أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله. Today I want to look at one word which is Fitra. Arabic language is such a rich, fascinating, complete, an amazing language that it continues to give and open new dimension, new levels, a new aspect, a new horizon. And subhanallah, when we are preoccupied with Arabic and trying to understand it, it's a great way of our using our consciousness or awareness or our thinking so that we grow and we evolve. Because the best human being is the one who grows and evolves. As we can see in creation, everything grows. But it's only the human being who remains stunted because we do not grow spiritually, meaning we do not have relationship or maintain a good relationship or be Allah-centric, knowing Allah and doing what's right for us. So we remain stunted, which means that we don't grow. And like take the example of water. When it's just left, when it doesn't flow, it doesn't flourish, it becomes stagnated and it starts to stink and smell. We are just like that water. When we don't grow, we stink and we smell. So let me just look at the word fitra because it's absolutely fascinating. I think there's a story in the Quran where Musa alayhi salam goes to Pharaoh and he asks them, "Who's your Lord?" And it's so beautiful that Musa alayhi salam says something like that He's the one who created me. He's the one who does guides everything in creation. So I think it's khalaqa, qadara, and hadaya that giving guidance. And subhanAllah, basically what that means, that everything in creation has been created and it has been coded or has this knowledge or awareness to do what it's supposed to do. Like all the animals know what they're supposed to do. Take the example of a lion. When you give a little lion cub a grass, it won't eat that because its diet is meat. Now, who taught that lion that you can't be a vegetarian? It's something within their inner mechanism, their inner state, or the inner fitra. I don't know whether you're supposed to use that for the animals, I don't know. But this the inner being that they do what they're supposed to do. And this applies to everything in creation. Whether it's the honeybee, whether it's the spider, whether it's a bacteria, whether it's whether it's a little cell in our body, subparticle, everything knows what it is supposed to do because Allah has guided everything. So subhanallah, and it's only man that we are born ignorant, not knowing anything, like other entity in creation who know their role and purpose when they come into creation. I mean, take the example, obviously, of a seed. Everything is imprinted, is coded within the seed, what kind of apple is going to be. And there's so many, I didn't realize, apparently there are 30 different kinds of apples. So I think I only know a few names. Is it Cox's, Brumley, the green apples and red apples? I don't know the names, but there are about 30 different names. And look, subhanAllah, each seed knows which apple is supposed to manifest or come into existence. So, so subhanAllah, so when you plant a seed, there's a code in there. They know exactly what to do. Unlike human who comes into this world without knowing anything, and through gradual maturation and growth, we learn about the world. And you can see it with babies, how beautiful they learn. The first thing they do is put everything in their mouth because that's where they explore the world. And then slowly the other perception, I mean, hearing, I think it's function even when in the womb, that they can hear, and that's why it's recommended in Islam that women who are pregnant should recite and listen to a lot of the Quran, it'll affect the baby. And so when they come into the world, often it says there's a smell that recognize. So they bond with the mother, with the smell of the mother. So they know instantly it's their mum. So when you pick a newborn baby and it's yelling and yelling because it knows you're not the mum, you're just carrying it. But the real mum is the one they can smell. And then slowly, gradually, they start grappling with holding things and putting it in their mouth. And, subhanAllah, and bit by bit, human being grows. And then eventually they reach puberty or teenagers. That's when that seed of Fitra germinates and begins to grow into actions and behavior and attitude and deeds from that little seed of Fitra. And obviously, as I've said, the Fitra, the root letter of Fitra is Fa-ta-ra, which is absolutely mind-blowing. It means to split asunder or to tear open. And look, subhanAllah, wallahi, when I read the definition of it, I was just gobsmacked. Because when we look around, realize that everything in creation splits open to produce new creation. Let me repeat that again. Everything in creation splits open to produce new growth. Take the example of the morning. The night, the night splits open to produce the light of the morning, and then that's how the sun rises. Similarly, a chicken egg, it cracks to produce a chick. Similarly, the seed in the ground is split to produce a little sapling. So all new creation happens with that splitting open, splitting asunder. SubhanAllah, English language is limited, so it cannot convey the true meaning, but that's just part of the meaning. So let's go back to this fitra and this inner seed which splits open to create our behavior, our attitude, our personality, our identity, and our actions. This gift of fitra has been given to us so that it directs us towards the right direction, and it guides us to interact with the world to produce desired outcome which will benefit us. So basically what that means is that when a child has a good environment and the seed of Fitra, Islam, flourishes, and they look at the world and they have Tawheed, to believe that it's only Allah in creation who is directing, maintaining, creating everything. So when they know that, they start having a relationship with Allah. And subhanAllah, so they're directed towards having that understanding and knowing what benefits them and what harms them by reading the Quran, following the Prophet ﷺ, so that they can make correct choices. But when the fitra the fitra has been what's the word now? The fitra has been malayed, or it has been deformed, or hasn't. It does not follow. It hasn't been guided. It hasn't been guided by Islam, by Quran, and by saying of the Prophet. Then that fitra is not working properly, and we develop a condition of heedlessness called ghafla, or basically turning away from Allah, turning away from Allah's signs, not being aware how much Allah is taking care of us and how important it is to follow the commandments of Allah. So we become heedlessness, which is ghafla in Arabic, which means basically we become careless, oblivious, negligence, and we don't really care. We develop the attitude, I don't care. And eventually we're going to realize that having this attitude is only detrimental to ourselves. It's that when we are ghafla, or when we are heedlessness, that we're busy with different aspects of materialism. When you want all the toys and you want all these games and video games, or I don't know what they have these days. Is it virtual reality? There's goggles and things and all these tech things, which, and then eventually when we grow older, then we start gathering money, and we neglect that beautiful seed that is within us. It lays dormant and covered. Because Allah, the word kafir just means cover, like the farmer that covers the seed with soil. That's what it means. So we cover that seed with the distraction of this world, following our desires, and we bury that seed that's within us. So we continue gathering money or entertaining ourselves, we start going on focusing on social media, on relationships, on money, on Netflix, and all these distractions that basically will not allow our fitra to flourish. And it prevents us from growth. It prevents us from benefiting ourselves. It prevents us from the purpose of life. It prevents us from knowing the meaning of life. And it prevents us from knowing why we are here in this world. Can you imagine how disastrous it is to not to know your purpose? Even a little ant, smaller than ant, a little wood lice knows its purpose. It knows what it's supposed to do. And look at us, grown-up human beings with this magnificent intellect that Allah has gifted us with it. Yet, we don't know why we're here. And so when we follow our fitra, when we do good in this world, when we are Allah-centric, when we have Allah in our center of our lives and we are Allah-centric, and that is when we know our purpose of life is to be Khalifah, a representative of Allah on earth. So therefore, we have to know Allah first to represent Him. How can we represent Allah when we don't know Him? So this continuous evolving, this continuous maturation, this continuous growth is to know Allah more and more and more. Every day should be a day that we discover Allah. Subhanallah, there's a philosopher who said that human happiness lies in discovery. And one of the Sufis says that Allah discloses Himself every day. It's up to us to discover that. How beautiful is that? Can you imagine renewing yourself and discovering Allah every day, and trying to implement what Allah has told us and to become like Allah's representative? How wonderful is that? How wonderful, how rich and beautiful life will come. Wallahi, and the choice is ours. We can ask, why should we remember Allah and why should we become a Khalifah? Why should we display Allah's attributes and all that palaver? Well, the answer is that when we forget our Creator, our maintainer, our director, our cherisher, our caretaker, our beloved, we forget ourselves. We forget our identity. We forget who we are. And then what happens is that gradually, rather than growing spiritually and learning more and becoming more alive and more active and more beneficial to oneself and to the other, we become confused and more confused, so much so. It's like, when you put glasses on and the glasses have all grease on it or something like that, you can't see the world. You become more and more confused. And when you become confused, you can't see the world, so we cannot make the right choices. We can't make the right decision, and then we end up in a mess. And ironically, a lot of us blame others. Oh, so-and-so did this. Oh, so-and-so does. Oh, so... Yet it is our own fault because we have not pursued the path of Islam, and we went became heedlessness, became ghafla, and trying to become, distracted from the real purpose of life. So when we are in ghafla, one of the main things that we start experiencing is that we either are trapped by regretting the past, which keeps haunting us. It never gives us peace. And I remember years ago, I had a friend who had a miscarriage when she was young. And even in a middle age, she was still haunted by that memory. So when we're in ghafla, we are trapped by the past. We live in state of regret. Oh, why did I do that? Oh, if I'd done that. Oh, and it turns into more and more negativity. Or we are constantly anxious about the future. Constantly. And this anxiety can spiral so much so that it turns into a phobia, or what's the other word now? When you have too much anxiety, paranoia. That you become paranoid about anything and everything. I have a neighbor who's so paranoid about her own safety that she has cameras and she, everything. She won't go out. She's just so paranoid. She's trapped into that state because it's a direct result of being distracted, being in ghafla, not following your true human nature, which is to worship unto God. So you're constantly anxious, or we are constantly anxious about the future, and we are forever occupied arranging and rearranging the future events. And, subhanAllah, so our time and our energy is taken by arranging things. And how ironic that we foolishly think that we control the future, but in essence it's Allah who controls the future. And subhanAllah, so when things don't go our way, then disaster come. What happens? We have a nervous breakdown, a mental breakdown, a melting. They call it, I think New World is a meltdown. Never used to be in my days, but anyway. So all this, and currently we have somebody in the family who's having a mental breakdown because they had arranged the future in a meticulous way, this way, that way, and it did not happen that way. That doesn't mean that we don't plan for the future, because we're not stupid. Allah's given us this intellect, this valuable, precious gift. Use it to plan and to strategize about your life, what you're going to do, but don't become too overly about planning the future. So subhanAllah, Allah tells us in the Quran, those who follow Allah, they will not be sad, neither they will be grieved. So they won't be anxious or worried about the future. Allah will take care of the inner state. We foolishly think that we are control of our state of being, a state of our consciousness. We are not. Allah is the one who is taking care of our mental state, our consciousness, our ability to feel good, to be comfortable, to feel at ease. This is in direct control of Allah. And that's why in this podcast I keep emphasizing Tawheed, oneness of Allah, and how utterly important it is to maintain a direct connection, a close interaction, a deep interaction, a deep connection with Allah. Wallahi, look, we just have one life. We have to be very clever and very cautious not to waste that life, not to waste the life. When we forget to remember Allah, to be conscious of Him, then the devil gradually takes over us bit by bit. It gives us anxiety, confusion, stress, depression, worry, so forth. So be sure that when we are distracted, or when we are not Allah-centric, or when we are not concerned with taqwa and tawheed and Islam and iman and ihsan, we are under the influence of the shaitan. And what does shaitan wants to do? To destroy us. Allah tells us in the Quran again and again and again, Quran is an open enemy. The devil is an open enemy. Take him as an enemy. How many times this verse has been repeated in the Quran? Wallahi, we have to be really, really, really careful that how inch by inch, bit by bit, the shaitan can distract you and take you from further away. I remember there was a friend of mine who told me, she became a convert, she became a Muslim, but she said to me how her distractions, how the devil started intervening or influencing in her life. She said when she was a child, or teenager, the devil said to her, come on, let's have a cigarette. In my days it was very cool to smoke. We didn't have this these funny cigarettes that we have now. I don't know what they're called. I can't remember. something. I don't know what they call this. Vapes, that's it. We didn't have that. Look, subhanallah, look how the devil tempted us. So in school, a friend used to bring a cigarette and she would quietly have a cigarette and then slowly there started a journey to other things. So she started smoking weed, and then it went into higher and higher into substance misuse, and then she became a heroin addict. And as a result, to keep a habit, she has to become a prostitute, because otherwise you couldn't keep that habit. And it was just, and subhanallah, wallahi, look at the beauty of Islam. Once she discovered Islam, she realized which is the right path. And Allah in His mercy, Allah forgave all that she's done. We just have to ask Allah for forgiveness. Allah is the most merciful. And she led a very prosperous and a beautiful life. Okay, so we have to be very careful about not being heedless of Allah. And Allah has taught us in His wisdom the prayer that we can ask when we become heedless of Allah, and anybody can access now with his iPhone. Just say prayers of the Prophet and you can do that prayer for yourself. So if we don't crack this condition of being destructive, oblivious, not connected with Allah, and not allowing that fitra, the seed, to flourish, then what happens? The other disease is arrogance. So we become arrogant, which is underlying cause of all dispute between individual, family, friends, neighborhood, community, societies, and countries. Can you imagine? Can you just reflect? Why do countries go to war? Why? Because one thinks they're better than the other. Look at the tragic genocide that's happening today in Gaza, because the Zionists think they're better than the Palestine. The arrogance. Look how the arrogance, which was first displayed by Shaitan. So remember, whoever becomes arrogant is just like the Shaitan. And look how much destruction that the Zionists are doing today. This is direct results of being arrogant. Arrogance is the very essence of what the devil is made of. And that's why it did not bow down to Adam. When Allah ordered the devil said, bow down to Adam, because Allah loves us. Allah loves you. Allah has created you with both of His hand. And Allah has honored you. And Allah has made you noble. And Allah has given you all this beautiful blessing. And look how much Allah loves you, that He asked thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of angels to bow down to you. Can you imagine? Bow down to you, prostration to you. this will all unfold, the realization, when we follow Islam. So, subhanAllah, I suppose I just want to end there, that we should follow the Quran and Sunnah to allow the seed to flourish, this fitra, and may Allah make it easy for us, and may Allah protect us from the shaitan. Thank you.